Okay, this is 4.5. You guys, I want you to look how close we are to knowing everything we need to know, or at least have been introduced to everything we need to know for the midterm. So we've got 4-5, we've got 5-4, and we've got 5-5. 5-6 is also on there. So we've got, how many? This 1, 2, 3, 4. And 2 of those are almost exactly the same. So we only have 4 lessons. Today's easy. And then you'll know everything you need to know for this midterm, and then we just have to review. So we're super close, okay? All right, 100%, without a doubt, if people miss anything on this lesson, on this concept, it has nothing to do with the math, because the math is easy. It's like adding and dividing, and it's super, super simple. If people miss it, it's because they don't remember the steps, okay? So it is super, super, super easy for you, or super important, I mean, for you to memorize that, okay? So you have to get a 0 on the right, you have to factor, list your critical numbers, graph it on a number line, do a table of values, and answer. Where it says table of values, I want you to cross that out, and I just want you to put test. We used to have to put a table of values, and that is no longer. It's easier, and so we just have to test, okay? Okay, here we go with question number 1, nice and slowly. Step 1, get a 0 on the right-hand side, done. Step number 2, factor. So you're going to factor this to x and x. The 6 is going to factor to a 3 and a 2. Signs are different, and you subtract. The biggest is a negative. The 3 is a negative, the 2 is a positive. Okay? Now what you're going to do is you're going to list your critical numbers. It's very simple to list critical numbers. All you do is imagine that that were an equal sign. So set that equal to 0 and that equal to 0, and you get x equals -2, comma, +3. Very simple. Okay? Now we're going to go to that number line. The -2 is on the left-hand side. The +3 is on the right-hand side. Then you have an open circle like this, because I don't have any equal sign, okay? Now, we're no longer talking about distance from 0. So you can't say the greater than is outside. Why are we not talking about distance from 0 anymore? Because it's not an absolute value. You're exactly right. But this is super simple. Look what you're going to do. You're going to take a number in the left region, something to the left of a -2, like a -3. So grab your calculator and everybody go -3, store, enter. And now what you're going to do, guys, is you're going to put the left-hand side right there into your calculator. So everybody go membar, enter, x squared, minus membar, enter, -6, enter, and you get a 6. All I need you to do is to come right there and put a plus. That means if I put a number from that region into the calculator, I get a positive number. Look how easy the other 2 regions are to test. So in the center, if there's a 0, if there's a sign change between those critical numbers, I always test 0. So everybody go 0, store, enter. Then I want you to go up, up. You're back on top of the equation, hit enter, you get a -6. All you have to do is put a negative sign. Do the 4 or 5 or 1,000, whatever you want. I'm going to go 4, store, enter, up, up, enter, and I get a positive. I want the numbers that are greater than 0. So greater than 0, is that positive numbers or is that negative? Those are the positives. So it's going to be here and it's going to be here. And in interval form, your answer is -∞ to -2 with a parenthesis, union 3 to infinity, close it with a parenthesis, highlight your answer, and you're done. Okay, let's do question B. Step number 1, get a 0 on the right-hand side. Okay, so you have 2x to the second. I have to write like a kindergartner again. 2x to the second plus 5x plus 2 is less than or equal to 0. Okay, it'll be better in a second, I promise. Okay, set it equal to 0. Next step, factor. So the 2x to the second, guys, is going to go to a 2x and a plain x. The 2 is going to go to a 2 and a 1. Don't forget your less than or equal to 0. Signs are the same. They're both positive. Try not to look at the steps and make yourself remember. Step 1, get a 0 on the right. Step 2, factor. Do you remember step 3? List your critical numbers. So everybody go CNS, and then you have x equals. If you set 2x plus 1 equal to 0, guys, the 1 comes over and becomes a negative, and then you divide by 2. If you set x plus 2 equal to 0, the 2 comes over and becomes a negative. Okay, now I'm going to go to my number line, and I'm going to put a negative 2 on the left and a negative 1/2 on the right. I do have an equal sign, so my circles are going to be closed. I'm a little nervous that you're going to say less than means inside. Okay, be careful. If you don't have an absolute value, you have to test your regions. So everybody go negative 3, store, enter. Then here's where you plug in. Once you have the 0 on the right, you guys, this is where I want you to plug in, right there where I highlighted in green. Once you have the 0 on the right. So everybody go 2 membar enter x squared plus 5 membar enter plus 2 enter, and I get a 5. So all I'm going to do is on my number line, I'm going to put a plus right there. Okay. Then in the center, I don't have a sign change. I'm going to choose a negative 1. So I'm going to go negative 1, store, enter, up, up, enter, and I get a negative. On the right, I'm going to choose a 0. To the right, a negative 1/2 is 0. So everybody go 0, store, enter, up, up, enter, and I get a positive. Okay, so I'm looking for where the numbers are less than 0, and that is in the, that's where they're negative, which is in the center. So my final answer in interval form is negative 2 with a bracket to a negative 1/2 with a bracket. That's my answer, and I'm done. Who says gotcha? Yes, sir.
When we're listing our critical numbers, do we need to show work of like setting it equal to 0 for the system?
I know you guys can do that. Good. Okay, here we go. Question C. It's not going to get much harder. This is kind of it, so that's a good thing. Okay. Step 1, bring your 4 over. So it's x to the second plus 4x plus 4 is greater than 0. Step number 2, just tell me one word. What is it? Factor. So that's going to go to x and x. Signs are the same. They're both positive. 2 and 2 multiply to give me 4 and add to give me 4. Okay. So when I list my critical numbers, I only have one critical number because they both give me the same one, right? So it is negative 2. So I'm going to come over here to a negative 2, and I'm going to make my circle open. And now I'm going to test regions. To the left of negative 2 is a negative 3. Negative 3, store, enter. And then where do I plug it in? Guys, make sure you plug it in the right spot. It's right there where I just highlighted in green. So when you have a 0 on the right. So go membar enter x squared plus 4 membar enter plus 4 enter, and I get a 1. So I'm going to put a plus over there. To the left of negative 2, like a 0. 0, store, enter, up, up, enter. I get a 4, so I'm going to put a plus. I'm looking for where the numbers are greater than 0. That would be positive, right? So it's everywhere except 2. In interval form, that's negative infinity to negative 2 with a parenthesis, union negative 2 to infinity. There's your answer, and you're done. What if it looked like this? I want to change it for a second. What if it looked like this? I would write this down. X plus 2 times x plus 2 is less than 0. Okay, so then your critical numbers would be -2, it'd still be the same. Circle would be open. I didn't change the equation, so the signs aren't changing. So this would be plus, and this would be plus. I'm looking for where they're less than 0. Are they less than 0? There are no negative regions, and the 0's open, so there's nothing. So the answer is literally no solution. What if it was this? What if it was less than equal to? Then you'd go to a -2, you'd have a closed circle, this would be a positive, this would be a positive. It's never negative. It does include the -2, so your answer would just be x equals -2. If they asked you to put that in interval form, it would be -2 with a bracket to -2 with a bracket. I know that's weird, but that's what it would be. Okay? All right, let's do D. Step 1, get a 0 on the right. Done. Step 2, factor. Everybody stop for a second. There's something on this equation that's terrible, and we need to fix it right now. And if we don't fix it, it makes the problem literally like 5 times tougher. What is it?
Negative.
That negative. Please, 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 when you're factoring, if the biggest exponent is a negative, don't even do it. So I'm going to take out a negative. Is there anything else that I'm going to take out? I would take out a 3. So when you take out a negative, it changes all the signs. So instead of negative, negative, positive, it's going to be positive, positive, negative. 3 divided by 3 is a 1, x squared. 3 divided by 3 is a 1x. 6 divided by 3 is a 2. Now I'm going to keep factoring, and it's so much easier. It goes to x and x, 2 and 1. Signs are different. Biggest is a positive. Looks like that. What do I do now? Steps. What do I do now? Critical numbers. Does the -3 on the outside give you a critical number?
No.
No. What would have to be out there to give me a critical number? Some kind of an x. Yeah. The x minus 1 gives you a 1. The plus 2 gives you a minus 2. Okay? I'm just going to do my number line right here. -2 on the left, +1 on the right. Circles are going to be closed. And now I'm going to test. Test a -3. So everybody go -3, store, enter. Everybody listen for 2 seconds. Listen. I could plug that in here, here, or here. One of those is the safest place. Which one? Top, middle, or bottom? The top. Before you factor with a 0 on the right, that is the best place, because then you don't have to worry about any parentheses and you don't mess up on that. Everybody go -3, membar, enter, x squared, -3, membar, enter, +6, enter. I get a -12, so I'm just going to put a negative right there. You've got a sign change between -2 and 1, so I'm going to go 0, store, enter, up, up, enter, and I get a positive. Do the 2, store, enter, up, up, enter, and I get a negative. I'm looking for where they are positive, greater than 0. So I'm going to shade here, and I'm ready to write my answer. In interval form, -2 with a bracket to 1 with a bracket, and I'm done. Who says, easy? Let me see. Does not feel good. Okay. 2, 3, 4, and then we're done. Someone made a mistake. Look. Very common. Think of what the first step is. Say it in your head. And look at what they've done. Think of the second step. Think of the third step that I listed. the fourth, etc., and the problem actually did not get finished. So this is line 1, this is line 2, 3, and 4. Where is the error made? What line? Line 3. Step 1, everybody in the room, tell me step 1.
Make it right
0. Step 2, tell me, don't look, just tell me. Factor. What's step 3? Critical numbers. You don't do this. So you go, my critical numbers are, let's do it correctly. X equals 5 and negative 2. Go to your number line. Negative 2, positive 5. No equal sign. Open. Test. Negative 3. Negative 3, store, enter. I would test from the very beginning, from step 1. So I'm going to go membar enter x squared, minus 3 membar enter, minus 10 enter, and I get a positive. Sign change, that's a 0. I can see, guys, in that green equation, if x is 0, y is going to be a negative 10. So I'm just going to go negative. Then I'm going to go 6 store, enter, up, enter. I get an 8, that's a positive. I want these to be greater than 0. That means I want them to be positive. So that is here and here. So my answer is negative infinity to negative 2 with a parenthesis, union 5 to infinity. That's the answer, and I'm done. Okay, I want to say one more thing about this problem. I would really love you to just watch this, okay? Why is step 3 wrong? Look right here. I'm taking some number, I don't know what it is. It's on a piece of paper and it's in my hand. You can't see it. And I multiply it by another number and I get a positive. Greater than 0 means positive. This times this is positive. That means this is a positive and this is a positive. Is that true? No. Why not? They could both be negative. Negative times negative is a positive too. So can you assume that? No, you can't. You're making a false assumption. That's why it's not okay. Okay? Example 3. A company has found that the revenue from the sales of tractors is a function of the price that it charges. If the revenue in dollars is this, what range of prices will the revenue exceed $9,000? Okay? Revenue is this. I'm going to put negative 0.25 p to the second plus 4,750 p. That's my revenue. I want it to exceed $9,000. What am I going to put right there for exceed? Greater than. Okay? By the way, go back up to the very first page for me. And I want you to add something right there. I forgot to do this. I want you to put down critical numbers type 1. These are all critical numbers type 1. What is in the equation that makes it a critical numbers type 1? 2 things. You have to have an x squared or larger exponent. The second thing you have to have is an inequality. So if you look at all the problems we just did, they had at least an x squared and there was a greater than less than symbol. Okay? Now, the reason I remembered to do that is because now you look at that and you ask yourself, what kind of a problem is it? It's a critical numbers type 1. We're going to do a type 2 next time. Okay? It's a little tougher. Bring over the 9,000. So negative 0.25 p to the second plus 4,750 p minus 9,000 is greater than 0. What am I supposed to do now? Factor. Do you want to do that? I don't either. So what's another option? Quadratic formula. It's the same thing as factoring and solving. Yes, everybody go P equals. Off to the side right now. Everybody freeze for a second. I want you to write x equals, and I want you to write down the quadratic formula. Every single one of you write that down. Every single year in this class, I have people miss solving quadratics because they don't know the quadratic formula. That's a joke. Sorry. You need to know it. Make sure you know it. It is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay? Make sure you got that down right. Okay, here we go. So we have negative b, negative 4,750, plus or minus the square root of b squared. Now I told you never write it as something squared. I'm going to break my rule because that is such a big number, and besides that it's positive anyway, so I'm not going to get confused. So don't usually do that, but we're going to break our rule. Minus 4 times a, which is negative 0.25, times c, which is negative 9,000, all over 2 times negative 0.25. We're going to put this in our calculator. We're going to get two answers. Did they tell us to round? No, they didn't. Let's see how ugly our numbers are. Do you want to try to do it by yourself? Who says, will you please read out loud the buttons I'm supposed to push to put this in correctly? Okay, some of you want it. If you don't want it, ignore me. Okay, the rest of you, what we need to do, guys, is we have to add parentheses around the top and parentheses around the bottom. So you go parenthesis, negative 4750 plus second x squared, 4750 x squared, minus 4 parenthesis, negative 0.25, close it, new parenthesis, negative 9,000. How many closes do I put here? 3. Close, close, close. Divide, parenthesis, 2 times negative 0.25, close it, enter, and I get 1.89. Is that what you got? Did you get it? Okay. If you didn't, then I think you did something wrong, because enough people got it just like me. This is money. Okay? Then I want you to go up, up. Nope, not up, up, just up. Then go to the right until you're on top of the plus and make it a minus and hit enter. That answer in money is $18,998.11, rounded to the nearest cent. I want you to remember this is a critical numbers problem. So now I have to go to my number line. Okay, I'm going to draw a new, actually it's okay. 1.89 on the left, $18,998.11 on the right. There's no equal sign, so it's going to be open. To the left of 1.89 is like a 0. So I'm going to go 0, store, enter. Then I'm going to put that in, and I get negative 0.25, membar, enter, x squared, plus 4,750, membar, enter, minus 9,000, hit enter, and I get a negative number. So I'm just going to stick a negative right there. In between 1.89 and 18,000, I'm going to do a 2. 2, store, enter, up, up, enter, I get a positive. To the right of that 18,000, I'm going to do 19,000. Store, enter, up, up, enter, and I get a negative. I want it to be greater than 0. So that is positive. So it's right there. So the answer is, would it make sense to put this like in interval form? It's a word problem. So it doesn't make sense, right? So we're going to say between $1.89 and $18,998.11. Now, the problem kind of is silly, and I keep telling myself I need to change it. We're going to call these, it's the sale of tractors. This is the sale of toy tractors. So could you get a little teeny tractor toy for $1.89? Yes. Do you think that there are crazy rich people that get like a model tractor for $19,000? Yeah, probably. I wouldn't. I would go to the Bahamas, but anyway. So that's your answer. Yes.
So far it's been like positive, negative, positive for all of them. Is that always going to be the case?
Okay, so
And like a pattern?
It usually will. Remember when we had that one solution, then it was kind of different? So I'm afraid to make assumptions yet, but I think that if everything is just raised to the first, those signs are going to alternate. It's when something is squared is when funky things start happening. But I'm afraid to say for sure, but that's my assumption, okay? Okay, here we go with question number 4. Given these functions, f of x and g of x, for what value of x will the graph of the function g be above the graph of f? Okay, so let's write down g. So g is 3x minus x squared. Then let's write down f. So it's x to the second minus 3x minus 8, above. I want the one on the left to be above. What do I put in for above? Greater than. Okay. Should I put an equal sign in there? No, because if it's equal, it's not above, it's equal, right? Now, everybody stop. This is a critical numbers type 1, right? I have big exponents and an inequality. What's step 1? Get a 0, but don't get a 0 on the left. Please, it's a train wreck. Get a 0 on the right. So I know it seems like so bad, but take all those guys and pull them that way. So the x squared comes over and becomes a negative. So you have a negative 2x to the second. The 3x comes over and becomes a positive, so I have a plus 6x. The 8 comes over and becomes a positive, so I have a plus 8 is greater than 0. What do I do now? Factor. What's really ugly? The negative. So I'm going to take out a negative and 2. Good. Greatest common factor. If I take out a negative, the negative, positive, positive goes to positive, negative, negative. Now I don't have to worry about signs. I already figured them out. 2 divided by 2 is a 1x squared. 6 divided by 2 is a 3x. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Continue factoring. So it goes to x and x. 4 goes to 4 and 1. Signs are different. Biggest is a negative. The 4 is a negative and the 1 is a positive. Does the negative 2 give me a critical number? Yes or no? No. The plus 1 gives me a minus 1. The minus 4 gives me a plus 4. Go to your number line. Negative 1 on the left. Positive 4 on the right. No equal sign. My circles are open. Will everybody stop right here for a second? Listen what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid you're going to do this, and it will make me so sad. I'm afraid you're going to say greater than means outside. I'm so afraid of that. When do you do greater than is outside? On an absolute value. So if you don't have an absolute value, then what do you have to do? You have to test your points. Yeah. I think I'm going to drill that in your head. That will make me so sad because you got the other one so good. Everybody's so good at that other one. I don't want to mess that up. So everybody go negative 2, store, enter. And then I'm going to put it right here, guys, in this green is the easiest place to do. So go negative 2, membar, enter, x squared, plus 6, membar, enter, plus 8, enter, and I get a negative number. So that's a negative 12. Put in a 0, I'm going to get an 8, that's a positive. Put in a 5, store, enter, up, up, enter, and I get a negative. I'm looking for where they're greater. It was not outside, you guys, it's inside. So for what x values, from an x value of negative 1 to a positive 4, that's your answering interval, and we're done. Who says I gotcha? Okay, I have to tell you 2 things. I'm going to do it right now. I've been spending a lot of time looking through midterm reviews, and I've got some notes of some things that I want to mention to you that are going to be critical on this midterm, okay? This right here is good news, okay? Everybody just kind of, you don't even have to write this down, just look. There's your equation. Difference quotient. It's on the midterm review. So you go, this right here means go into here, wherever you see an x, put in an x plus h. So it'd be the square root of x plus h minus 3. That means subtract what you were given, and the whole thing is over h, right? Easy? Guess what? This is going to make you so happy. Done. I don't know. That's what it says on the review. The review says do not simplify. So if you're doing a different quotient with the square root and it says do not simplify, you don't have to rationalize the numerator. If it doesn't say do not simplify, rationalize the numerator. Okay, so look for that word simplify. Okay, here's one more thing that is super important I want to talk about. I do want you to write this down. Okay, so everybody write y equals f of x. And then I want you to write h of x is negative f of x plus 3, sorry, minus 4. And what I want you to do is to list the transformations. So I feel like I haven't talked about this notation enough. So if you've got this graph f of x, and then h of x is f of x, but with transformations, then what are the transformations? Guys, look, you've got the negative, you've got the plus 3, and you've got the minus 4. Everybody in the room, tell me what the negative out in the front does. Reflects it across what? The x-axis. Good. Tell me what the plus 3 does to your graph. Moves it to the left 3, right? It's the opposite of what you see. Tell me what the minus 4 does. Down 4. Okay? Make sure you know that. Okay? That was on the midterm review, and I feel like I didn't stress that enough. Okay? Who says I'm good? Let me see. Yay. We're done. What